January 28th, 1986, I was a senior at Good Pasture Christian High School in Madison, Tennessee, just north of Nashville. I was and remain a big fan of space travel, and so I eagerly anticipated the launch of Challenger that day to see Christina McAuliffe go up, the first teacher in space, and give a lesson in orbit. You have to put this in context. When I grew up in the 60s and 70s, like most kids, like most boys, I wanted to be an astronaut. Unfortunately, if you see a poll of what children want to be in 2024 and 2025, it's usually YouTube influencer or rapper. But we were sold on the idea that space travel was going to become routine and profitable. When I was a kid in the 70s, it was just well understood that the space shuttle would be flying by 1980. It'd come down, two-week turnaround, and back into orbit. And so 1981 comes along, and I watched the launch of Space Shuttle Challenger down in Fort Myers, Florida, while visiting there, and really enjoyed that, and expected everything to go swimmingly along, and it did. In 1985, just a few days ago from that point, there had been 9 space shuttle launches and landings. It had become routine. Space shuttle launches became like the 4th or 5th story in the evening news that night. So, got up in the morning, turned on CNN, and asked my mother to come into the den in our condo and watch it with me, which she agreed to. And the takeoff went flawlessly. Although it's weird, I noticed that on the wings of the Challenger there were long icicles, which is very unusual for Florida. But I thought, well, the NASA folks just know what they're doing, so I'm sure it's okay. And excuse me, I've got a cold here, so sorry for the interruptions. Okay, but so it did the countdown, and we got up to. I was watching CNN, got up to the place where they were about to say go with throttle up, and I switched over to NBC's morning program, Today Show, yeah. And there had some commentators, and they were talking about the launch and things like that. And then they pulled away, and I could see one of the solid rocket boosters going sideways across the screen, like this. And I thought, that's weird. They shouldn't be breaking off the solid rocket boosters for another 45 seconds. And then the camera pulled away, and I could see what I can poetically describe as the shape of the devil. The big head and long pointy ears that were just boosters just stretching out into infinity and towards the lounge, the languid death in the cold Atlantic Ocean. At first I thought, this can't be happening. I'm having a dream or something. I gave myself a long blink, and I woke up, and no, it was still there. And I turned to my mom, and she was just as confused as I was. And then it soon became sadly apparent what had happened, and that all 7 of those astronauts had lost their lives. It was weird because it wasn't just a tragedy, it was the crushing of a dream. We were sold the idea in the 70s that the space shuttle was going to fly and be perfectly safe, and that by 1985 there'd be a 50-mile long solar satellite in orbit that would beam down free energy to the Earth. That soon after that, there'd be space stations orbiting the Earth. We'd land on Mars by 1996, and by the year 2000, there'd be these gigantic cities, 50, 100,000 people orbiting between the Earth and the Moon. Now all that was gone. We would never look at the space shuttle launch again without biting our fingers. And then we heard those words. ROS tracking confirms the vehicle has been destroyed. And we had confirmation numbers that those astronauts weren't coming back. It's weird how, as you know me, I'm someone who keeps up with the news. Very few things have brought me to tears over the years, but that's definitely one of them. Along with 9/11, Columbine. It's strange how something so far away can still affect you. And even now I'm recalling it, I can see it clearly in my mind. It's my mom and I trying to figure out what happened. It's interesting how we all process trauma recently. In recent years, Columbine, I remember everybody cried. Now, school shootings are pretty much an expectation each school year. Each school year, we're resigned to the fact there's going to be, 3 or 4. And it's sad how that's become routine and not surprising. But there is a lot of danger in losing your dreams. And after that, America lost a big part of its dreams. It was officially crushed after 9/11. And it began on a cold day in November 1963 in Dallas, Texas. Anyway, I don't have any clever solution for this or philosophical ends to it. Just that please take time today to pray for the families of the 7 Challenger astronauts. Give them the comfort that they need. Thank you very much.